Good afternoon from the forest. I'm in one of the biggest forests in Manitoba, enjoying my Sunday with the sun. I told an audio this morning about the scariest time in my life, which happened recently, and I'm going to tell the story again, but on video. So, during the pandemic, I made a lot of videos. You might know all these stories, but I had a store with 9 employees, and I lost my business, but I was a positive guy. I knew things would get better. I always find something. I've had a lot of different businesses. But the governments were getting stricter and stricter. And me and my wife and my son all being unvaccinated, it was getting harder and harder for us to do stuff. We've lived abroad for almost 10 years. So all this talk about Canada locking the borders and this and that. And so we have to go to Canada to see my parents. So we came here. This was in 2021 or 2022, whenever the global lockdowns didn't happen yet. So we get there, and a couple weeks into that, the government says that we're locking the borders down, and all of a sudden overnight, I couldn't go to restaurants. Like, I just got into Canada, we couldn't even go to restaurants. They wanted to see a vaccine passport. If you're unvaccinated, you deal with all this bullshit too. So I had a car in Costa Rica, I had money in Costa Rica, I had to get back. And they were talking about closing the border any day. We quickly got 3 tickets and went back to Costa Rica because at the time Canada was so locked down. I didn't want to get stuck here. It was like the worst country to be in. You know, this just happened recently, but it's so surreal. So we got out of here and they locked the border like a week or 2 after. I got to Costa Rica, there was like no restrictions, everything was good. They said that they were pro-liberty, pro-freedom. I was about to sign a lease for a beautiful house with a pool. And like I said, I had another side business working with a home builder. And then overnight they said that all children had to get the vaccine to go to school. And they also said that to get into some grocery stores, you needed the vaccine, most grocery stores. So the mega ones is like Mega Supra and all these, they started IDing people. So I said to my wife, we can't get locked in here if they're going to force our kids to get the vaccine. So now I'm getting scared because I had nowhere to go. I couldn't go home. I couldn't fly home. There was no way. The country that I was in, but I'm not a citizen. I'm just a tourist. That's all I was. I couldn't go to the grocery store. And the border to Nicaragua was closed, so there was no way to do my border runs. Basically, if you're a tourist, you have to go to the border every 3 months. Otherwise, you get deported. Or, well, you could get fines and into trouble. So I said to my wife, we have to get out of Costa Rica now. So we're panicking. It's like the whole world was coming in on us. It was really scary. And the thing is, I'm not really close with my parents. And my wife, both of her parents have passed away. So we had very little support, and I didn't know just a few people in Costa Rica, but I have no family or like real friends in Latin America. I don't even speak Spanish. So I'm stuck in Costa Rica, can't go back to Canada. Now in Costa Rica, they're clamping down. So I said, well, the only other place we can go to is Panama. There's only 3 countries that would accept me and my family unvaccinated. And yes, I had a fake vaccine passport. This really nice lady brought me one to Costa Rica, but I didn't want to use it because I didn't want to get caught with it. And there were signs at the airport, 2 years in jail for whatever, identity fraud or some shit. So we go to Panama, we don't sign the lease. We get there and they make us stay in a hotel for 3 days, the hotel jail. I'll never forget this stuff. Can't leave the hotel. They said they were gonna throw in meals, but their meals were terrible. So we ended up getting food and they were allowing them to bring food to us. We weren't allowed to leave without getting tested. I've never done a PCR. My wife and my son, we've never done a PCR. We bribed every single clinic because to get into Canada, they wanted to shove that thing up your nose. So when I was in the room with the lady, I said, how much just to do the cheek? Just the cheek. So she didn't charge me, but I bribed her, and there was another one that we had to bribe. I think it was to get into Panama. Yeah, it was. It was to get into Panama. So they swabbed us in the cheek to get out of the hotel room. But now we're stuck in Panama. And this is my first time being in Panama. And now I can't get back to Costa Rica. I can't get back to Canada. I don't know anybody in Panama. They're not as friendly there. it's more dangerous. It's right beside Colombia, and you can just feel it's a different energy. Costa Rica, it's pura vida, man. How's it going, man? It's like a surfer country. Everybody's just so chill. Panama's not like that. It's intense there. The people are all staring at you. It's a way different energy. Because I was in Panama City. So then we rented this place, and we're only allowed to stay in Panama for 3 months. So I'm like, well, what are we gonna do? We can't go back to Costa Rica. We can't go back to Canada. We're unvaccinated. So this is when it was like dread time. I'm panicking. I don't know where to go. I don't have anybody to rely on. My wife doesn't. I have a 7-year-old son, and we don't speak Spanish. It was right then and there, it was very dreadful. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest, we thought we were gonna have to live in the jungle. I was already looking at supplies and tents and how we could do this. So then I started praying again, asking for help out of this situation. You know, there's been a lot of times in my life where I felt like I might die or this might happen. I have a crazy background with drugs and gangs and crazy shit. But when you have a child, it's way different. When you're a 20-year-old kid, whatever, you don't give a shit. But when you're in your 30s and you have a 7-year-old son and you have to protect that, it's way different. And everybody wanted to vaccinate my son. We would see things, vaccinate your children all over Latin America. In Costa Rica, you have to be vaccinated. I wasn't going to do it. My son has never had a vaccine. I'm very holistic. I'm very strong on my beliefs. Strong integrity. It's not happening. Because I had access to all this information, I started the vaccine awareness group, so I knew how bad it was. And at the time, we didn't know how bad it was. Like, now they're talking that you have to get a vaccine every 6 months in Canada. It was getting worse and worse, and we were stuck. And then all of a sudden, these billboards were saying that about the vaccine. So we didn't know if they were going to make it mandatory in Panama. I'm praying. And then I had like an epiphany. And I knew things were going to get better. Started doing my affirmations again. I stopped watching all these stupid videos that said it's the end of the world. Any person in my life that was like a doomer, you know, it's going to be World War III, get your guns ready, we're going to be living in the woods. Anybody like that, I cut them out of my life. And I started listening to positive people, spiritual people. I started spending a lot more time in nature again. That's my roots. And I knew it would get better, and it did. And almost overnight, you know the story, they pretty much ended everything. So now we had a choice, go back to Costa Rica, stay in Panama. I didn't want to stay in Panama. It's not friendly there. Not like Costa Rica. So we wanted to come back to Canada because my whole family's vaccinated. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't know if my mom and dad were going to live long. I wanted to see them. Both of them had side effects. My dad had tendonitis in his ears for a couple weeks. And one of the main side effects is having problems in your stomach area after the vaccine because you have so many blood vessels around the small intestine, large intestine. So I think, I don't want to get deep into it. She had to go for 2 surgeries and she's still today having problems. But everything stopped overnight. The vaccine passport was abolished. Now I could get a job again. Now I could work again. It was just crazy how things worked out. So now I've been sticking on this thing of trying not to feed my head with all the doomer stuff, because I do believe we create our own reality. We do. I don't want to get deep into this, but if we focus on the negative all the time, that's what's going to unfold for us. So now I truly believe that things are getting better and they're going to be amazing. But it was a very scary time for me and my family. And I'm sure you listening to this have a very similar story. If you're unvaccinated, people disowned you. People didn't like you. You weren't allowed to restaurants. You might have lost your job. You might have lost your business like me. You might have felt hopeless and scared because you didn't know what was going to fucking happen. There was, like in Australia, they were force arresting people and beating them. And it was terrifying for us and for you probably because we didn't know what was going to happen. I had a couple friends in Panama and they're buying guns and stuff. And we're not going to be fucking shooting. There was no way to, I'm glad things worked out how they did. I wanted to share that story because I know a lot of you guys went through hardship too. Lord, no, I did. It was very hard on us. And if you don't have a lot of support, like me and my wife, it was even harder. I love you guys. I'm going to continue hiking here. Nature heals you, heals your soul. I don't usually wear sunglasses. I'm doing it right now for the video, so I'm not squinting. But just being in that sun, you're absorbing those rays, raising your serotonin levels. You know the whole bit. This sun's amazing. I love you guys. Take care.